Welcome back to College Football Addiction. I've got Couz on from Couz's Corner. How you doing, bud?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on again, TJ. It's always fun, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's been a little while, so I'm glad that we got you back. Listen, we'll address the elephant in the room, right? We were excited. We planned this late last week, and then unfortunately Saturday didn't go the way that many Mountaineer fans would have wanted. Just give us a high level thought on what the heck happened there against Ohio.
Man, just new roster. I mean, it just the roster, unfortunately, having 80 new players is impacting this team more than probably what we thought. The offensive line just was not able to get push on Ohio, which is alarming. There was some, questions about quarterback play, some other things. The offense basically as a whole just played really bad. I mean, the defense got 3 turnovers. West Virginia was not able to score on any of the turnovers. I mean, they held Ohio to 17 points. They should have, they played good enough to win the game, but the offense was just totally stagnant, man, and could not do anything. Jaheim White went out early in the first half with an injury too. That didn't help. And once he was out, man, they could do nothing. And it was just bad. It was ugly football on the offensive side.
Is the mood, pitchforks or what? Is there an understanding of new roster? This is going to be a rebuild, bumps and bruises. Fans are not usually reasonable, but are they somewhat reasonable here, or what's the mood?
I mean, it's been a mixed bag, but I think majority of fans understand that it was going to be it was probably going to be a long year or a challenging year, a rebuild year, so to speak. Now, we didn't expect to lose to Ohio necessarily, but we knew that the team may not be, we're probably not going to be competing for any conference titles or anything like that anytime soon, right? It might take a year or two to get there. But we did not expect to lose to Ohio, to a MAC school. And I'm not trying to downplay MAC schools or be disrespectful, but Power 4 schools should not be losing to MAC schools. That's just the way we feel about it. And, so that wasn't on the bingo card, but it happened. It is what it is. Now we have to move on to Pitt, and hopefully they can get the ship turned around this week.
Yeah, if they can get a win against Pitt, I don't want to say all will be forgiven, but it will be forgotten.
It'll definitely help for sure
in a big way. And it is a chance to rebound, right? Like you'd rather be going to this game 2-0, but a chance to rebound. It feels like they also, again, not to pile on here, lost their chance at College Game Day because of the way that went down.
They did. Absolutely. Yeah. All indications are game day was planning to come to Morgantown if both teams were 2-0 going into the game. But, that obviously is not happening. The Tennessee, I mean, because there was a big storyline there, right? You have Rich Rod returning on 9-13 to beat the team, to play the team who beat them 13-9 to end his career, to knock him out of the national title. Pat McAfee, who was on that team, was going to be part of the crew. I mean, there was just so many storylines. It basically writes itself.
Yeah.
But, when you got one of the teams coming off such a bad loss, it kind of takes the luster away for the ESPN folks, and for the national audience too. You've got to look at what they want to see. So,
Pitt, let's talk about them for a little bit and kind of preview that. Wins against Central Michigan and Duquesne. They've looked good in both, but considering the competition, right? You want to take everything measured in these first couple of weeks when you haven't played, I mean, even really a power opponent, and let alone Duquesne being lower level. Just early thoughts on Pitt, just what they've shown so far, again, considering who they've played.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think Pitt is, and I hate to say this being a West Virginia fan, but I try to be honest. I think Pitt is a dark horse to compete for an ACC championship. I'll be honest. I think they're that good. Now, Florida State's looked great, so I don't know that they're going to be that good. But I do think they can be one of the top teams in the league this year in the ACC. They, Eli Holstein's playing well at quarterback. They have Desmond Reed in the backfield, who's an absolute stud. He's also great in the pass game, great returner. He's just he's a human highlight reel at times. They have, Phil Steele rated their linebacker core as the number 5 in the country. They return a lot of guys on defense, including those 3. They're always good on the defensive line because, that's kind of Pat Narduzzi's calling is on the defensive side of the ball. But I just think Pitt is a really dangerous team, a really good team. And West Virginia better in their A game or they'll get run out of the building or out of the stadium.
Which is not fun at home for sure. You mentioned Eli, 519 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, an 84.7 QBR, which is good for top 15 in the country. What does West Virginia do defensively to try their very best to slow
Yeah.
him down?
Well, thankfully for West Virginia, they do have their defense has been playing pretty well. They've only given up 20 points in 2 games. Now, one of those games was against an FCS school. I understand it, but still pretty good to do that. They have forced 5 turnovers in 2 games, and that's what they're going to have to do against Holstein. You've got to get some turnovers against him. Zach Alley is a defensive coordinator who likes to be multiple. He likes to keep the offense guessing. He will use multiple fronts, and he likes to look different. You know, he may look different every week based on what the offense likes to do. So I look for him to try to keep the offense off balance by moving guys around, bringing different types of blitzes from different angles, different guys. I look for him to try to, probably force a couple turnovers in the game. So I do have faith that West Virginia's defense can keep them in the game. I do think they're good enough to do that. My concern is just on the offensive side, honestly. I just don't think West Virginia's offense has just not shown that they're going to be able to move the ball and score against a team like Pitt, at least not to this point, especially if Jaheim White's not back, which we have not heard yet whether he's going to be or not.
Yeah, it feels like for them to win this game, it's going to need to be ugly. It's going to need to be a brawl, right? No pun intended. But
it'll need to be like the game we had 2 years ago, I guess it was, when West Virginia won like 17-3 or 17-6, when Phil Jerkovich threw like 2 or 3 interceptions and was really terrible. And honestly, I mean, he just played horrible that game. West Virginia only scored 17 points, but the defense basically shut Pitt out, and that's it's going to need to be in another game probably similar to that in order for West Virginia to have a chance, in my opinion. May need a special teams or a defensive touchdown. I mean, it's going to be one of those games, in my opinion.
You mentioned some of the talent that Pitt has out at wideout. How confident are you? You talked about having some confidence in the defense. Talk to me about West Virginia's secondary.
Yeah, they've got Michael Coach Jr., who's Pro Football Focus has as one of the top returning corners in the Big 12. Now, I say returning from college. He wasn't on West Virginia's team last year, but he's returning to college football. He came from Nevada, but he's played really well so far. Hasn't really gotten anything thrown his way, which I guess if you're a corner, that's what you want, right? Mm-hmm. But that being said, they've given up a couple of long pass plays in the first couple games. They've blown a couple coverages, but the way Zach Alley's defense is, it's kind of a high risk, high reward type system where he likes to bring a lot of pressure, which does sometimes put a lot of pressure on your DBs. And, even though there is some experience and some talent back there, they're all still playing together for the first time, right? This is only going to be game 3 of these guys playing together. And, with Couz, and then you got guys like Jason Chambers, who's a transfer from App State, along with Fred Perry, a nickel safety who people need to be on the lookout for. That guy's all over the field. He's going to be rushing the passer. He's going to be incremental in the run game, stopping the run. I mean, he's just he's kind of like that. Heat sinking missile is kind of what I call him, or he's just everywhere, man. And he's coming to hit you, and he's coming with a purpose. He's another good player. But I really, but Holstein, man, if he plays anything like he did a year ago against us, they better bring their A game because it could be a long day.
Appreciate Sleeper for their support. Listen, there's fantasy football on that app. There's eliminator leagues. Maybe we'll do a double fries, no slaw pick 'em that you guys can get involved with. Give away some tickets to the Champions Club or something like that for the winner. Mental note that down. We'll get it done. But listen, we've been making money with the more or less. Hopefully you took some of that more and that less in that USF game here. Sleeper has a phenomenal interface. One of the best places you can go just to go check the scores. There's a USF UF score that you guys all enjoyed from Saturday. You can see their fans freaking out in the comments on it. You need to be on the Sleeper app. Use our code DFNS for 100% match up to $100. If you want to play the more or less game with me and Richie every Wednesday night, we would encourage you to do so. But one way or the other, you should have this app. You should use our code to get it so that when you do deposit, you can get that bonus. But make sure that you go check out Sleeper's terms and conditions. They do apply. See their terms of use for details. Appreciate Sleeper for their support. It's the app that you guys need to be on for all things sports. What about on the other side? West Virginia feels like they need to run the ball better, right? And I know that's so cliche. You could say that about every team in America, right? Florida State went for like 230 on the ground against Bama, and you could still say like, you got to run the ball better, right? If you're going to keep winning games. But I'm not breaking any news there. But, thoughts on the run game, just the way it can help out Nico in such a massive way.
Yeah, I mean, you said you hit the nail on the head. It's not, in most cases it might be cliche, but it's not here because West Virginia only had 72 yards rushing against Ohio. And 40 of that was by Jaheim White in a quarter. He ran for 40 yards in the first quarter, went out early in the second quarter with an injury. And they got 32 yards for the next 3 quarters, basically. And, Nico, he does some things well, but he's not very fast. And, with offensive line struggles, he wasn't loose enough to get away from some of the rushes. He's not really a threat to pull. He can run it some, but he's not a threat to pull it and take it a long way and take it the distance or anything like that. And, that's one of the things the fan base is kind of anxious for, is for Rich Rod to try a different quarterback that maybe has a little bit more quickness, a little bit more speed, maybe see if that works. But the run game, to me, they're going to have to figure out ways to get multiple people involved, in my opinion, whether it be the quarterback, whether you might have to try a wide receiver at running back. I don't know, because they're not very deep at tailback. Behind Jaheim White, they've struggled to find anybody that can make plays. And I'm really worried that if he doesn't come back this week, especially when you have an O-line that's struggling. I mean, their PFF grade was in the 50s in run blocking this week and that's against a MAC school. So what's going to happen against a great defensive front like Pitt, man? It's very worrisome. We all know Rich Rod is a very smart coach when it comes to offense. Hopefully he can figure something out. Maybe they add some extra blockers, whether it be a fullback, another tight end, whatever, to help. But they're going to have to figure out some way to run the football, because if not, Nico's just going to be a sitting duck back there.
One of the biggest issues I saw when rewatching this game was just it felt like, and you mentioned this, one of my key points that I had on this was the way that they weren't able to capitalize on turnovers. When you have those opportunities for the extra possessions or the short fields, you have to take advantage of that. And if you're not doing it against Ohio, it becomes daunting to think you're going to do it against a Pitt defense. But every week is different. You can lose bad games and come back. Time possession too, just keeping your defense off the field, not being able to run the ball certainly limits your time of possession. And then Nico, was just okay, throwing the ball. Time of possession and capitalizing off of turnovers. If and when Holstein gives you a freebie or they put the ball on the ground or whatever, to me, those are two of the biggest things. All right, like trenches matter, run game matters, all that other stuff matters. But you're given golden opportunities in some football games, and you got to take advantage of them. And they didn't take advantage of either the time of possession or the capitalizing on turnovers. That's the biggest thing that I was thinking the whole time I rewatched the game.
Yeah, man. I mean, you hit 40 minutes time of possession for Ohio compared to 17 for West Virginia. And I'm obviously using round numbers, but that's about where it landed. And you can't have that, man. I mean, and of course, part of that is because Rich Rod likes to run that hurry-up style offense. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. You run a hurry-up offense and you go 3 and out every time, which was happening a lot in that game. Your defense is on the field for 40 minutes. Now, the defense was still able to hold them to 17, 0 in the second half, despite that. But it's not going to be that easy to do against a team like Pitt, who's going to have more talent. They're going to have more guys they can roll in and out against you, to keep their offense fresh. It's going to be a daunting task to ask them to do that again. But like you said, it is a new week. The crowd can hopefully be a factor. It's a sellout. Mm-hmm. There should be 60,000 people there. Probably 90% of those will be Mountaineer fans, if not more. And I expect it to be extremely loud. Maybe that can make a difference this week. And maybe West Virginia just had maybe last week was just a bad week. It happens. It's what we got to hope for, and that they get things going this week and can put this behind them and move on.
Yeah, I love what you said about the crowd. I thought the same thing. So I've mentioned this a couple of times on this channel, but not on a West Virginia thing. So hopefully people won't get tired of me saying this over and over again. I went to Florida, Miami last year, and I didn't have a dog in the fight, right? Don't like either team because I like the Noles. But I went because I was excited about hearing the Swamp be the Swamp, right? It's one of the iconic places in our sport to go watch a game. And Miami jumped on them from the very front, the very start of that game. And the Swamp was terrible. Like, it was just one of the most boring games I've been to because the crowd never really got a chance to get involved. Yeah. You're down 14-3 to start the game. You already feel like you're out of it, and you're begging for your team to find a way to get back into it. And I regretted going because, I didn't really care about seeing who won or lost. I just wanted to see a good atmosphere, a good college football game, and it was a blowout, and the Swamp sucked. I've been in the Swamp when I was at the largest sellout they've ever had when Florida State and Florida played in 2015. And that place is just an absolute nightmare for opposing teams, and it's a ton of fun. And then I worried about that a little bit when Florida State and Bama played, right? I was going to that game and I thought, man, our team has to, the crowd is always great at kickoff, right? The crowd's always involved. You go down 14-0, you go down 17-3, you go down 21-10. The crowd, it just doesn't have a chance to ever really make an impact. And so as good as the crowd I expected to be at kickoff, the team has to do something early to get them to stay in the game. You can be as loud as you want at kickoff. That don't matter. Nobody has kickoff jitters. It's going out of the back of the end zone anyway.
Exactly.
But the team has to give the crowd something to continue to feast on. Florida State did that against Bama. Florida couldn't do that against Miami in those two big games that I went to. And I think that's a big part of it is the crowd's going to be there. They're going to show up. I've plenty of faith in watching West Virginia for the last 25 years, plenty of faith in the crowd. The team has to give them something to stay involved, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, man. Especially, West Virginia's had great crowds over the years. The crowd attendance under Neil Brown has dwindled, though, because of fan apathy. And that can happen in the middle of a game, too, like you mentioned. Sure. I mean, it's we're fans. We're fickle people, man. And you don't want to see people start trickling out in the third quarter or at halftime. And at West Virginia, they've had an issue with students not showing up to games or leaving early. And if this game starts getting away from West Virginia early, man, you'll start seeing that student section thin out quick.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see that, So, yeah, keeping a crowd in it, to me, not to spoil it, but it's probably going to be in my show I do later this week. It's probably going to be one of my keys of the game because West Virginia's going to need all the help they can get because on paper, Pitt is the better football team, and they need to figure out ways to generate some plays and generate some excitement, a spark, I guess would be the best way to put it. They need a spark. The crowd can help provide that. And they're going to need the crowd to show up big and loud.
Give me an X factor on both offense and defense as we start to wind this thing down.
Yeah, X factor on offense to me is I don't even know if it's an X factor, but I'm just going to name a player. I'm going to say Cam Vaughn, the wide receiver at West Virginia. We expect that Jaheim White likely won't be back, so they're probably going to have to rely more on the pass game. And Cam Vaughn is a playmaker that Rich Rod brought with him from Jacksonville State. He can make plays. He's a converted quarterback that they turned into a wide receiver last year, but he's dynamic. He's athletic. He can pull the ball out of the air. He gets open a lot. They're going to have to figure out ways to get him the football. If they can do that, I think their offense has a chance to stay in the game. And then on defense, they got to generate a pass rush on Holstein, man, and you got to put pressure on him. Don't let him sit back there and pick you apart because I think he has the ability to do that. So you've got to get some pressure. They're going to have to bring it from multiple. It's probably going to have to come from multiple guys because West Virginia doesn't really have that elite pass rusher with Jamoy Robinson not being eligible. So they've got to bring it from different guys in different positions. But I think Zach Alley can dial up some different pressures and help keep pressure on him. And I think that's going to be the X factor for the defense.
ESPN has this as an FPI of 60-40 for Pitt, so not necessarily a sure thing. Mm-hmm. It certainly could be a game, certainly should be a game if West Virginia can clean up a couple of things. Opened up last week at 1.5 points. It's up to close to a touchdown now, like 6 points, if I'm reading it right, for Pitt as a favorite. I know it's early in the week. We're doing this on Monday. I'm not sure exactly what day it'll come out, but doing this on Monday. So it is early in the week. So if you don't have a score, that's fine. But do you have a lean in how you think this goes down?
Yeah, I haven't really put a lot of thought into a score yet, but I am obviously leaning, and I hate to say this because Mountaineer fans might hate me because a lot of people refuse to pick Pitt regardless. But I just, being realistic and trying to be the analyst in me, it's going to be a challenge for West Virginia to win this game. Pitt's got more experience, more continuity on the staff, more continuity on the roster, obviously some talent, across the board at multiple positions. And after what I saw last week with this West Virginia team and what Pitt's been doing the last 2 weeks, I think Pitt's got a huge advantage in this game. And I look for them to win the game, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tough to see a West Virginia path to victory. They exist, but more often than not, I'd lean Pitt as well. But
I don't think it'll be a blowout per se, but I do think Pitt ends up winning the game just because I think they're the better team right now.
Yeah, I think rivalries get weird, and you don't want to hope for that as your only way to win a game. But I do think that if that's how it happens, that's how it happens. Nobody's going to complain.
This is the last time for your audience. I may not know this. This is the last time Pitt and West Virginia plays for 3 years. The rivalry takes a 3-year hiatus, just the way the schedule worked out, and this will be game 4 of a four-game series, so to speak. And right now, Pitt has the edge 2-1 because every home team has won the game so far.
Yeah.
So this will be you don't want it to end and have this 3-year hiatus and them have that 3-1 edge over that they can hold over your head. So it's kind of big in that regard too.
Yeah, for sure. It will be fun to tune into. It'll be fun to see, and we wish you all the luck. Where can people follow you, Couz? Where can they find your show?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube at Couz's Corner. You see it written on the screen there. It's COUZ' Corner. I cover West Virginia, cover a lot about the Big 12 and realignment and stuff like that as well. Also, you can find me on X or Twitter at Couz206, and you can find me over at our website, wvsportschat.com, or couzescorner.com will get you there as well. But appreciate TJ having me on. It's always good to talk ball with him.
Yeah, man, anytime. I wish it was under better circumstances than last week, but it is always a good time. I saw you're nearing it on 10,000 subs. So if anybody's watching
I'm getting close.
Yeah, we're going to link it in the description. Go give Couz some love over on YouTube and go check him out, man. I appreciate you a ton for hanging out.
Hey, thank you. Keep up the good work, brother.
Thanks, buddy.